Chapter 3. The Past Unshackled. Thud, thud, thud. Click. Eric slowly opened his eyes. Was the door moving? His eyes shot open. Something was wrong. Normally they just left a tray of food out for him. So why was the door? Eric tensed. Creak. An unfamiliar figure formed in the blindly bright entrance, the light obscuring all discernible detail as the door slammed shut. Eric eyed the figure warily. He flinched as the figure took a step forward.
Give me your hand.
Eric hesitated for a moment before holding out his hand. The figure looked it over, eyes squinting in the dim lighting. Eric flinched as its fingers brushed over the cuts and bruises. He bit his lip.
You poor thing.
The figure got down on its knees and clasped his hand in its own.
My name's Eldrita, and I'm here to help you.
A thick, golden light emitted from her hands, bright and warm. It swelled up around him, enveloping him in its gentle embrace. The light seemed to seep into his skin, flowing through his body until it's gone. Eric watched in awe as all the cuts and gashes littering his body slowly pulled themselves back together without leaving a single scar behind. He bit his lip. What do you want? Eldrita eyed him, confused.
What do I want?
Eric let out a sigh. You came into this hellhole and healed the disgrace of the Vanderbatch family. There's no way you did that out of the kindness of your heart. My family practically wiped my name from existence after the incident 6 years ago. And you expect me to believe that you just found out somehow and healed me out of pity? Don't make me laugh. Eldrita let out a chuckle.
You're a smart one, all right, though you're a bit off.
Off? Eldrita rolled up her dress and sat down beside Eric.
I'm with the White Guard, so I've got access to information most people don't. It's true that your talents could prove immeasurably helpful going forward. However, I didn't come here for that. You remind me of a child I know, a boy who lost everything he cared about and then himself. I can't get you out of here. Not unless the reform goes through, at least.
She reached out her hand.
Until then, though, you'll have to settle for this old lady's lessons.
Eric's eyes stared at Eldrita, as if to judge the sincerity of her words. You're one hell of a crazy old hag, you know that? Eldrita grinned.
And you've certainly got a personality on you. Something tells me this is going to be a lot of work.
Oh, I'll have you wishing you were dead within a week. Eric reached out and grasped Eldrita's hand in a vice grip. You better not be backing down now. Eldrita eyed him smugly.
I wouldn't dream of it.
And so the training regiment began. Days became weeks, and weeks became months. Eldrita spoke of the outside world, and of the storm that was brewing just beneath it all. Of wars and warriors, heroes and sacrifices, the future and Eric's place in it. He trained vigorously, learning combat techniques and finding weaknesses in the magics that towered over him. Eric created a simple arsenal of tools and weapons to aid him in the trials the future would bring. And finally, after years of confinement, he heard the words he thought he'd never hear again.
Eric, let's go home. Home.
Home.
Anybody home?
Eric's eye shot open. He was on the ground, back against a tree, his hands still encased in their metallic armor. Just in front of him stood a figure cloaked in a series of gray fur pelts that rustled in the wind. Her unruly blood-red hair hung every which way out of a large, wide-brimmed pointed hat, while a thick, furry scarf hung down over her left shoulder. Her red, fiery eyes contrasted with her dark attire. Eric frowned. The Crimson Witch, I assume? The witch leaned over. A sadistic grin spread across her face.
Oh, you're the Vanderbatch freak.
Eric glared back up at her as he pulled himself to his feet. Why didn't you take my gear? Better yet, why am I not tied up? The Crimson Witch smirked.
I'm not the kind of person to take toys from children. I'd much rather watch them choke on him.
Oh, screw off! The witch's eyes narrowed.
You here to interfere with my operations?
Yeah, right. I don't care what the hell you're doing here. I'm just trying to get rid of a damn pest. The Crimson Witch let out a laugh.
I like this one. A heartless dastard to the core.
Says the freak with the dog fetish. What? They do your hair too?
Oh, he's got a mouth on him as well.
Eric furrowed his brow. You know, at first I thought you were doing something with the corruption. Maybe even being a hellion yourself. Guess you just look that way naturally. He grinned. Speaking of which, your face looks a bit pale. It could use some more blood flow. Here, let me help with that! Eric lunged forward, shattering the stone in his right boot as he hurled a heavy right hook at his opponent. The witch effortlessly leapt just out of his reach, her heavy hat enveloping her in a blood-red aura as his fist cut through the air, mere inches from her face. Eric reloaded the mechanism on his right boot. So that's why they call you the Crimson Witch. The witch grinned.
Oh, no need to be so formal. You can call me Kyoki. After all, I'm sure that pretty soon, you'll be dying to keep me entertained.
Yeah, how about no? Eric broke into a sprint, summoning his twin spheres in front of his hands. Eyes locked on his target, Eric thrust his palms forward and twisted his wrists inward, shattering the stones in his gauntlets. Boom! The heavy orb shot forward, boosted by the force of the blast. They tore through the air towards the Crimson Witch. Kyoki flew out of the way, the spheroids blowing twin holes through the tree behind her. She smirked.
Oh, looks like your toys aren't just for show. Come on, make this interesting.
Her reaction speed's too fast. Wait. Eric grinned. I just need a projectile that can move and react right along with her. He recocked his gauntlets. Let's see how long she can keep this up. Eric smashed his left foot into the ground, launching himself straight at the Crimson Witch with a boom. Kyoki easily avoided the attack. A smug smile plastered across her face. Without losing his momentum, Eric springboarded off the tree behind her, slamming his gauntlets into her back with a loud crack.
Yeah!
The witch hit the ground with a thud, quickly rolling out of the way of Eric's follow-up strikes.
Why you?
Eric grinned. What's the matter? Can't handle this child's toys? Kyoki sprung to her feet and wiped her face off on her furred sleeve.
That's it. Playtime is over.
The witch rose up into the air, 7 glowing spheres of fire materializing around her. She narrowed her eyes.
Try not to die too quickly.
Kyoki set a flaming barrage of fire at Eric, lighting up the darkening sky in a brilliant blaze of destruction. Eric tore through the air, shattering spectral stone after spectral stone as he propelled himself away from the oncoming onslaught. That all you got? I've seen ice cubes with more firepower than you. The Crimson Witch grinned.
Then let's turn up the heat.
The fireball circling her turned white, the air rippling heavily around them. Eric reloaded his boots, rolling out of the way of the white-hot projectiles tearing through the air towards him. One of them brushed his cheek, the skin contorting as it blistered a dark red. Ah, you son of a... Boom! Eric launched himself into the air, bouncing between trees as he attempted to close the distance. Right, left, duck, boost. Eric bit his lip. Crap, gotta refill. He swung his backpack around to his chest, grasping a handful of the green stones as he used the last stone in his left gauntlet to propel himself behind a considerably thin tree to his right. Click. Eric slid 5 more stones into both boots and refilled his gauntlets, rolling out of the way just as a flaming hot projectile tore through the trunk of the tree where he'd been just moments before. Okay, that was way too freaking close. Eric shot himself back into the air, springboarded off the nearest tree, and launched himself towards the Crimson Witch. Let's close the distance in this quick, shall we?
Oh, you're not dead yet.
Kyoki grinned as Eric boosted from tree to tree and flung himself at her. Eric threw his weight into a heavy corkscrew punch, aimed at the witch's gut. Just before his fist could reach her, Kyoki dropped down, leaving her face directly in its path. Crap! Eric pulled back, redirecting his attack to the side. A sadistic grin spread across the witch's face as she twirled around and struck Eric in the gut, sending him hurtling to the ground with a thud. Kyoki let out a gurgling laugh.
I was right. You had every chance to kill me, and yet you stopped your only chance at victory.
The Crimson Witch descended towards Eric, throwing a brutal kick into his side. Ah!
You think you're being noble or something? It's kill or be killed out here. The weak always end up drowning in their own pathetic morals.
Kyoki wound back for another kick. Eric forced a grin. Frankly, I don't give a friggin' crap about morals. But I gave my word to a damn old hag, and I sure as hell ain't breaking it now. Eric rolled forward, catching the witch's leg and slamming her to the ground. I gave my word that I wouldn't kill. But I said nothing about playing fair. Eric shot to his feet, smashing his foot down on Kyoki's knee with a loud crack. The witch let out a vicious shriek. That's more like it. Let's finish this up before midnight. You look like you could use some beauty sleep. Kyoki attempted to summon her fire spheres, but Eric was faster, slamming his fists down on her face. Thud. The witch's limp arm dropped to the ground. Eric let out a sigh of relief as he refilled the slots in his boots and gauntlets. Well, now that that's taken care of. Snap. There he is! Get him! A flood of moonshifters rushed into the clearing, each one glaring straight at Eric. He spun around to face them. Great. Now I gotta walk the friggin' dogs. Boom! Eric launched forward, bouncing between the moonshifters in a systematic dance of kicks and punches. 30 left. These things multiply like friggin' rabbits. Eric caught the nearest moonshifter with a spinning roundhouse kick, nailing another in the throat with a boosted back kick. Now for you freaks. Hope you didn't feel left out. Eric whirled around, summoning his twin spheres to his side and sending them spinning outward into the incoming horde. 16. Duck, strike, spin, grab, snap. Eric tore his way through the onslaught, making his way back towards the tree line until... last one. Crack. The final moonshifter crumpled to the ground with a thud. Eric let out a sigh. I just gotta clean up this hole. A whirring noise shook through the trees, a thick sound he could almost taste. Eric whirled around to find the Crimson Witch grinning, a thick, glowing orb of energy forming in front of her hands. This does not look good. Eric summoned his twin spheres towards himself as he braced himself for the impact. But it was too late.
Master, look out!
A figure leapt forward, just as the energy reached its zenith. Wynn? What are you? A white-hot blast tore straight through Wynn's chest as it hurled towards Eric, searing the ground below it. Eric's eyes widened in horror. Wynn! The beam struck Eric's gauntlets, shattering them as it launched him backwards into a tree. Eric forced his eyes open.
Master.
Wynn's limp body crumpled to the ground. Wynn! Eric stumbled to his feet and limped towards her, steam rising from his scalded arms as he reached down to the scorched moonshifter. Wynn? Yogi grinned.
Weak. You're not even worth the effort of killing.
Eric bit his lip. Please. No, don't die. Not again. Wake the hell up! A gentle, warm energy shot through Eric's veins, swelling inside him as it raced down his arms, his blistered skin glowing brightly as it wove itself back together, the pain seeping from his weary body. The energy surged at his fingertips, enveloping Wynn in a golden brilliance. The gaping hole in Wynn's chest began to close, fragments of bone intertwining together, muscle twisting and winding, skin flush with color, threading itself back across the wound. Yogi's eyes widened.
Impossible! You're the inept Vanderbatch freak. There's no way a murderous demon like you could wield light magic.
Eric rose to his feet, drawing handfuls of spectral stones from his pack as his eyes locked onto the witch. Boom! Eric shot forward, the blast tearing the flesh from his hands and shattering the bones in his wrists. Golden energy formed around the bloody stump, bending and twisting the mangled hand back together. He narrowed his eyes. The pain didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was stopping Kyoki. He had to stop her. Eric launched forward into a heavy strike, narrowly missing the fleeing witch.
How? How are you doing this?
Eric grabbed another handful of stones from his pack. Boom! Eric tore through the air, fleeing himself at breakneck speed as he wove around the Crimson Witch's desperate attacks. Left, right, under, turn, boost. The attacks were getting faster, but Eric agilely evaded each one as he quickly closed the gap. Kyoki desperately swerved around back towards Win, eyes blazing with determination. Boom! They were getting closer now. Eric shattering stone after stone as he came within arm's reach. Kyoki summoned 7 spheres of fire around herself, heading her aim on Win. Eric bit his lip. Sorry. He clenched his fists. With a shout, Eric shattered the stones in both hands, slamming straight into the Crimson Witch and smashing her straight into the ground. You gave me no choice. Eric grimaced as he reached into his bag and drew out a dozen spectral stones. He clasped his hands together, raising them above his head, and smashed them down on the witch's face.
You son of a...
Boom! Eric rose to his feet. He didn't feel any joy or satisfaction, only relief. It was finally over. He let out a chuckle as he leaned back against a tree. Since when did I get so friggin' weak? Eric sighed, his eyelids weighing heavily on his face. Should probably go check on...
Master?
Eric's eyes shot open. What? He broke into a sprint, quickly reaching Win and rolling the moonshifter over onto her back.
Master?
Win blinked.
Master!
She lunged forward, knocking him to the ground, her tail slapping against his legs. Eric groaned. Well, you're clearly not dead yet.
Agreement. Win is very much not dead.
Eric let out a sigh. You want to get off me, mutt?
Nope. Why would Win want that?
The moonshifter eyed him curiously. Just get off.
Right.
Eric brushed himself off as he pulled himself back to his feet. All right, mutt, let's get at it. Wait. A branch snapped just beyond the tree line. Eric summoned his twin spheres to his side. Come on out while you still have the ability to walk. There was a brief moment of silence, and then dozens of moonshifters emerged from the trees, their gray fur gleaming in the flittering moonlight. Okay. Wasn't expecting that many of you. He clenched his fists. So, who's first? The moonshifters took a step forward, then another, and another. Then, Eric blinked. What the heck am I looking at? The moonshifters lay sprawled on the ground, bellies exposed as they looked up at him. Hopefully. The heck is wrong with you freaks? The moonshifter's tail started wagging.
Master!
Eric's eye twitched. Mutt? You want to tell me what they're... Huh? Eric turned to find Win down low on the ground, growling as she glared at the other moonshifters.
Master is Win's master. Win is Master's favorite.
Eric rolled his eyes. Shouldn't you freaks be attacking me or something? The tree back there is painted with your boss's face. The moonshifter's tail started wagging even faster. Really? One of them rose to their feet, wearing a very familiar blanket. Frick, it's the female one. The moonshifter cleared its throat.
My name is Whiskers.
Eric smirked. Seriously? Whiskers blushed.
My family's bloodline is filled with great warriors.
Like who? Fluffy ears and fuzzy tail?
You've met them?
Eric snickered. No. He froze. Wait. You don't all speak in the third person? Whiskers shook her head.
No. Win is just... special.
Win puffed out her cheeks.
Pride. Win is very special. No, I didn't mean it like... Never mind.
Eric scratched his chin. I'm gonna ask again, just to be clear. Why aren't you attacking me? Whiskers cleared her throat.
The Crimson Witch has been controlling things here for a while now. First, it was the silk trafficking. And then after the White Guard got wise, she moved on to the Half-Bloods. Considering the fact that she already had all of them at her fingertips, I suppose it made sense.
Eric nodded. So you're saying the Crimson Witch has been pulling the strings this whole time? Well, she's dead, so what now? Whiskers twiddled her fingers.
You're the one who defeated her, so...
And your point is? Whiskers blushed.
That makes you the one in charge.
Eric took a step back. You're joking, right? Crap, you're not. Wynn tugged on Eric's sleeve.
Bad friends tried to hurt Master. When thinks we should give them bad day.
Mutt. Go, fetch me a stick or something.
Excitement! Win will get Master the bestest of sticks.
Eric turned back to face Whiskers. And what happens if I don't become your new boss? Whiskers flattened her ears.
Then we would have no choice but to all go up in a giant fire.
That seems a bit drastic. Eric groaned, but he couldn't help the smile curling up at the edges of his mouth. Fine. Looks like I can't leave you mutts to your own devices. I've been in need of a new workshop anyway. He cracked his knuckles as he dropped his pack to the ground with a thud. Well, if I'm gonna be doing this, I'm going all in. I'll have you freaks wishing you'd picked a fire by the end of the week. Whiskers' eyes lit up.
You won't regret it, Master.
The Moonshifters all rose to their feet as if expecting orders. Eric grinned. Now this I can work with. Tap, tap, tap. Eric turned around to find Wynn, back from her excursion. Well, that was fast.
Master! Win has got an unrivaled stick.
Eric's eyes drifted upwards. Mutt? That's a tree.
Tree is just a really big stick.
Eric sighed as he turned back to face the pack of Moonshifters in front of him. Come on, Mutt. Looks like we got one heck of a job ahead of us.